What do we do now?
Yeah, which thankfully, as we get in the beginning of the show, we remember. Oh yeah, she has an immediate lifeline to Bail Organa.
Until Bail Organa comes to relocate, and it is this point where Ahsoka will now formally join the rebellion under the name Fulcrum, which becomes a major plot point in Star Wars Rebels. But this is her joining Bail Organa's cell of rebels, which exist while Andor is happening. We're basically seeing the formation of one of the many rebel cells that will then get name dropped in Andor. But before we get to Andor,
let's give our final thoughts on this show as a whole. As a whole, I love the vignette style, and honestly, this show did more to convince me to watch Rebels than you ever could. I'm sorry. I am so sorry.
Fine. At least it's convinced you to give Clone Wars, Rebels, and Bad Batch a shot.
Don't push it. I am not giving Rebels a shot.
You just said it convinced you to watch Rebels.
Did I say Rebels or Clone Wars?
You said Rebels.
Ew! No! God, no! I meant Clone Wars! I'm sorry, Rebels on the mind right now because we're talking about the formation of the rebellion. I am so sorry. No, it convinced me to give Clone Wars a shot, not Rebels. Ew.
Rebels is important though.
But I gotta sit through much kiddie bullshit.
Only for like the first season. It's the same thing with the first season of Clone Wars, but at least in Clone Wars it's not in full chronological order, so you get to watch some mature shit.
I've heard quite the opposite. I heard that it's contained through the entire show, but you know what?
No, it gets darker the more. Even in the third episode of Rebels, we deal with straight up genocide, and a man like proudly being like, "Yeah, I genocided your people," like unambiguously using the term genocide too in season 1. So,
yeah, no, but this show has done a lot to convince me of what is in store in Clone Wars, and that's really exciting, actually.
Yes, and I'm so glad that this show got greenlit for season 2.
Really?
Yeah,
that's awesome.
It's greenlit for season 2.
But I'm gonna be honest here. I found the Dooku stuff the most interesting.
Oh, for sure. The Dooku stuff was definitely the most interesting because, for one, it's stuff we don't know.
Yeah.
With Ahsoka, like, we knew she was born to the Togrutan people. We do know she trained against clones. And obviously, we do know about this entire plot thread because it happened in the Ahsoka novel. But Dooku, this is all original stuff. Like, we knew the bones of why Dooku became who he was, but now we get details.
Yeah. Which also, it's not even really fair to compare the two, because literally a third of what Ahsoka's part is literally a pilot for the show's existence.
Exactly.
So, I feel
and another third is training montage.
Yeah. Which, I mean, we're anime fans, but the episode's a bit much for a training montage.
It was, but because I'm a massive Clone Wars fan and all the little connections to Clone Wars, I feel it is more than a training montage.
Yeah. But I would say this is pretty solid. I would give it a 7 out of 10.
Yeah, I'd give it a 7 out of 10. I enjoyed it. I cannot wait for season 2. I hope we get one that's more prequel era, and one, not more prequel, but like pre-prequel era, and one that's in the sequel era.
Yeah, imagine actually giving
Kylo Ren. This
is a caliber to which we have never seen on screen in Star Wars.
This is a concentration camp.
Yeah.
It's a concentration camp, and for one, the design of it harkens back to a movie. I think it's THX 1138, which is the very first movie that George Lucas ever created.
Really?
Yes, it's a sci-fi drama that is basically very, 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 very anti-authoritarian, very anti-corporate, but also very prequel-y, but also made in the 70s.
And George Lucas, he certainly loves his politics.
As much as people try to deny that George Lucas wasn't influenced by politics, he is. He has admitted it. The prison, I love the design. I like, for one, the fact that the guards have boots. The prisoners
Like,
don't.
when you see it, you initially think,
oh, I'd much rather have the goofy boots! Because as you can see, the floor is, I don't know how to describe it.
It's... So they describe it as like a form of tungsten, which of course, it's a real metal, but because of the fact that it can, like it moves electricity through it very easily, or something like that. Maybe it's not electricity, but it's enough to where they can just stun the whole floor, and it immediately stuns them and literally causes them to fall to the ground.
Yeah, it is incredibly painful, and Cassian gets the worst of it on his first go-around, because he falls to his hand. So both his legs and hands are touching the ground, meaning it's going that much harder into him.
Yeah.
So we get there, but then we get to meet the crew. But there's only two important characters that we really meet. One is Melshi. Remember who Melshi is?
No.
Melshi is in Rogue One. Melshi is one of the commanders that Cassian brings with him to Scarif, and ultimately dies fighting in the Battle of Scarif. He is named by name as Captain Melshi, played by the same actor as the person who played Melshi in Rogue One. So this is to let you know, this is when he's going to join.
To be fair, it's easy to miss because none of the characters were memorable in Rogue One. Not even Cassian. He wasn't even that memorable except for But yeah, what pretty much this episode serves is like how far the Empire is willing to go, because pretty much how this prison is organized is that they've got pretty much just boxes that you work in, and pretty much you're designing the same thing over and over and over again. And remember, Cassian's going to be under the order of the Empire. He will be building things for 6 years straight.
Yeah.
We as the audience know that he's escaping.
Exactly. But through that we meet our second most important character, being Kino, played by Andy Serkis, which to me I was completely surprised when I saw Andy Serkis appear.
Like, I knew I recognized that actor. And the voice. I think the voice is what, like, I recognize this.
Yes.
I don't know who, but I recognize it.
He plays Snoke in The Force Awakens, as well as in... Oh, God,
which... I know that's going to spawn some fan theories, and I am not ready for them.
So, yes, Andy Serkis has played Snoke in Star Wars already. He also plays Ulysses Klaue in Age of Ultron and Black Panther. Venom, Let There Be Carnage.
Oh, now I'm less impressed.
Listen, the man is talented is what I'm saying.
Now I mean, he made a better sequel than Venom.
Yeah, I mean, Venom Let There Be Carnage is an improvement over the original Venom. So, we can give him that. And he's also going to be the director for the movie as well.
We can only go up from here.
Yes. So, what we're saying is Andy Serkis is very talented. He's in another thing. That I know we've both watched. But
mainly, his role is like while still being a prisoner, he is the head of that block that works that room at that time.
Basically, put it in actual terms, think of it as during concentration camps, there were Jews who were given office positions in the sense that they were more prominent than your average Jew in a concentration camp, but still very much under the boot of the Nazis.
So they're just being they were explicit in previous episodes as well, but they're just going full on here.
I mean, it's not something that was invented by the Nazis. It's been a thing for literal centuries. I'm just saying that's like a prominent enough example.
Yeah.
So
I'm just referring to politics in general.
Yeah. Oh yeah, he what was it? He was in the Mowgli, Legend of the Jungle.
Oh.
Which he played Baloo, and he also directed that movie.
Oh.
And he was also Gollum in the Lord of the Rings film trilogy, as well as The Hobbit.
Oh.
And he was King Kong. And Caesar in Planet of the Apes. And he was also in The Adventures of Tintin.
A lot of monkeys.
Yeah. 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 Oh, that is a... Luthen